All right, so here we go. Now, using that information of understanding the unit circle, now we're going to kind of build out some more understanding from that. And so I want you to think of the unit circle up here being kind of overlaid on top of an XY, the coordinate plane. And so here's our unit circle, very roughly drawn. And right here at the center of the circle is at the origin. Okay, and now let's go through here. So quadrant one is where both x and y are positive. X and y are both positive. And we're always going to go around counterclockwise. So as we go around, now we're here at quadrant 2. And from quadrant 1 to quadrant 2, what's changed? Well, the x values, x was positive. Now going to the left of the origin, x is negative. So negative x, comma y. As we continue around, we're at quadrant 3, where now both the x values, because we're to the left of the origin if we're down in here, and we're also below the origin, so both x and y are now negative. Negative x, negative y. And lastly, quadrant 4. Now the x values, it's to the right of the origin, so the x values are positive again, but it's still below the origin, so the y values are negative. Okay, so quadrant 1, everything's positive. Quadrant 2, x is negative. Quadrant 3, both x and y are negative. And quadrant 4, y is negative. Let me read out why that looks. All right. So knowing that, I'm going to walk through the first example here and watch through that. But after that, please pause it and see if you can figure these out independently. See if you can figure out where they're at. All right. So number 1. It says, in which quadrant does the angle lie? And then sketch a graph of the angle. And so here we go. 7 pi divided by 6. And so if we look back up to our unit circle, and at some point, fairly soon, actually, we want to get used to having this more or less memorized. But right now, we're just going to kind of get a feel with it. So if it's divided by 6, that in itself might trigger me, hey, I'm probably dealing with 30, 60, 90, that portion of the unit circle. And so if each step of 30 degrees is 1 pi, and here I have 7 pi divided by 6, I'm going to go 7 pieces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's 7 times the 30 degrees. So 210 degrees would be equivalent. This is equal to 210 degrees. 210 degrees. So, and you don't want to be stuck with the degrees, but I just wanted to remind you that that is an equivalent value. But really practice thinking in terms of radians. That's going to be the most helpful for you as we go through this unit. So 7 pi divided by 6 is right over here. This is 7 pi divided by 6. And that is, if we think about this in our graph, and so let's sketch it out real quick. That is in the third quadrant. That's right here. This is the third quadrant. So which quadrant is it in? It's in quadrant 3. And then sketch a graph of the angle. Well, let's think about our x. There's our graph of it. Now let's also think about our x, y values. At that point, x is to the left, so negative x, and it's heading down, so y is also negative. Okay, there's our kind of our 3 pieces of information. So sketch the graph of the angle, but also will you add in the figuring out whether or not x and y are positive and negative. That's going to be a really big benefit to you as we go along. All right, so let's try one more. Negative 2 pi divided by 5. And so we're going to go not counterclockwise, but we're going to head clockwise now. And so divided by 5, well, we're looking up here, now where are things divided by 5? And we're not actually sure, so let's, it's neither of the pieces that we're used to seeing, but we can still figure this out. We know what 2 pi is. 2 pi is going to be heading all the way back, all the way around the circle, back to the beginning. If it was just negative 2 pi, we really wouldn't have gone anywhere, because 2 pi is the entire 2 pi radians is the entire circle. But now that's being divided by 5. And so if we cut that into fifths, here's kind of our circle cut into, we got all the way back to here. Now we're going to unwind by fifths. And so let's see if I can sketch that out. By fifths, that looks pretty good right there. And so we're going to end up going back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2 pi divided by 5 is really just 1/5 of the circle. If you want to think it in terms of radians, or sorry, degrees, it'd be 360 degrees divided by, or negative 360 degrees divided by 5, which would give us, what is that? 72 degrees. But 72 degrees, it's negative, so remember you're heading backwards. 72 degrees wouldn't quite be to 90, so we haven't gone out of the that fourth quadrant there. So we are in quadrant 4. Quadrant 4. Our graph is going to look something like this here, that it's gone negative to right around there. It's gone negative 72 degrees, or just negative 2 pi divided by 5 radians. And then in terms of our x and our y, our x here in quadrant 4, that's positive. It's still to the right. So positive x, but it's down below the origin, so negative y. All right. Go ahead and pause the video now at this point and try the next few on your own. See how you can do. You've got examples of both when it's positive and negative now. And when you have a real clear-cut denominator that you know what to do with, like 6, use that. Figure out exactly what that's going to be. But if you don't, you can still reason through, just like we did here on B, reason through where at least it's going to be, in which quadrant it's going to be, what the sketch might look like, and what x and y would be. So really, please do pause the videos before trying the next few. All right, so hopefully you've paused the videos at this point, and let's go ahead and head on through. And I'm hoping you're getting that for C, you get down to quadrant 1, where x and y are both positive. And if you were to sketch that 5/12, that's half of 5/6. So if you went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 150 degrees, but that cut in half is 75 degrees. So you're right around here somewhere. But if you want to think about it in terms of, is it more or less than pi divided by 2, because that's kind of your boundary line, that's 90 degrees. And 5/12, that's less than 1/2. And so that's got to still be in quadrant 1. All right, number 4, it's negative pi divided by 2. And so that's actually right on one of our dividing lines. So if we're going pi divided by 2, that's that's directly up. That's there's pi divided by 2. However, ours is negative, so it's going to be heading down below. But it's not in quadrant 1, 2, 3, or 4. It's right on the y right on the y-axis. So it's a quadrantal angle, actually. Quadrantal angle, and kind of in your mind, remember it's on the y-axis. So it's on the y-axis. But more specifically, since it's negative, it's going to be down below. The x value, since here's our sketch, it's right on that y-axis. Our x value is 0. It's neither left nor right. But then y is down below, so it's 0, negative y. All right. For E, we've got 3 times pi divided by 4. And so 3/4 pi, and hopefully you're thinking of the fourths being related to the 45, 90 degree right angle. So 3/4, if you look right at the table, there it is. That's at 135 degrees. And so here's our sketch up to 135. And at that point, we're in quadrant 2. Quadrant 2, where x, it's to the left of the origin, so negative x, but then it's up, it's above the origin, so positive y. Last one, negative pi, and hopefully you're remembering that that is 180 degrees. That's whether it's negative pi or positive pi. Actually, we'll draw it down here both ways. If it's negative pi or positive pi, if it's positive pi, you got to 180 degrees. If it's negative pi, you got to 180 degrees. There's really no difference for just labeling something pi, whether it's negative or positive. But it is negative here, so we're going to be going, as far as our graph's concerned, going underneath right up to the x-axis on this one. And so that's another quadrantal angle. Where this time, so we're not in any quadrant specifically, kind of in between the second and third quadrants, if you want to think of it that way. And this time our x value, it's to the left of the origin, so negative x. And our y value isn't above or below, it's 0. All right, hope you did well with those, and hope that, that you really did pause and go through and try those on your own. That's going to certainly be the most beneficial to you long term.